What's happening, guys? What's going on YouTube? You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels. Just enjoying my morning coffee here. Figure we'd knock out a quick video. We got some e-commerce news for you guys today. This one comes to us from TechCrunch, and the title is Twitter launches a U.S. e-commerce pilot program that lets users shop from profiles. So if you have a store, if you're a brand, from your profile page, people will actually be able to make purchases. There'll be kind of like a little module just below your bio, and it'll scroll sideways, and people can scroll through your products and make purchases. Now, in the world of e-commerce, this is referred to as Omnichannel. Kind of the big push, or what people are trying to push is, you can shop from social media site. Really, Omnichannel refers to connecting with customers and allowing people to purchase in a variety of places all over the place. In e-commerce or really anything having to do with the internet, we want to be able to deliver something to people or collect information from people with as least resistance as possible. So we don't want people to have to click through multiple things to make a purchase. We don't want people to have to leave one platform to go to another platform. I know YouTube right now is kind of working on a pilot program that is going to allow people with YouTube channels to run ads for products and essentially become affiliates, and people will be able to buy products directly off videos. It actually makes a lot of sense for YouTube because a lot of people go to YouTube to look at reviews, and if they could make the purchase right on a YouTube platform as opposed to leaving and being redirected to another website, that would be attractive. One thing I personally kind of don't like about Omnichannel, and one reason that kind of Shopify seems to be kind of the platform to go with moving forward is Shopify seems to be getting the most integrations, which means that, it's going to be pretty much seamless. If somebody shops on Twitter, that order is going to be automatically transmitted to your Shopify account. I run a couple Shopify stores where we sell on Walmart, Amazon, eBay, and it really is a seamless process, right? I'm not having to run over to eBay to manage sales and things like that. Everything gets ported over to my Shopify store. Orders, your eBay orders, your Amazon orders, your Walmart orders can be printed through Shopify just like the rest of your orders. And, if you have a staff or something like that, you're not having to train them on 3 different platforms. Everything can be done on Shopify. Well, if you're not using a platform like Shopify, what gets kind of annoying is you're going to have to actively manage all of these platforms. You're going to have to go on Walmart and print out those orders and upload tracking numbers. You're going to have to go on Amazon and print out those orders and upload those tracking numbers. Whereas if you're a Shopify user, anything you do on Shopify just gets transferred over to Amazon, Walmart, eBay, etc. So that is one kind of annoyance of Omnichannel if there isn't a good integration, is you're having to manage all these different platforms. Let's kind of break down what this Twitter e-commerce pilot program is going to be kind of all about before we get into the article. So Twitter has been losing its user base for a number of years. Back during this presentation in February, they talked about having like a paid version of Twitter where you could undo tweets. I don't really see the benefit of that. I guess if you could edit a tweet, that would be kind of cool. But as far as undoing a tweet, like, you can already do that. It's called the delete button. You don't need to pay Twitter $3.99 a month or $6 a month. I know they were also looking into tipping as well. One thing that really kind of blows my mind, Jack Dorsey owns Twitter. He also is very into crypto, and he also owns a fintech company, Square. So the fact that it never occurred to him over the past number of years, like, hey, I own Twitter, which has a large user base and is a platform where people spend time, and I own a fintech company, like, I wonder if I could bring payments onto Twitter and let people tip or share crypto or something else. Really kind of blows my mind that he hasn't done that to date. I know Twitter at this point is kind of grasping at straws, trying to figure out not only a way to monetize, but a way to kind of stay relevant. I think Trump was probably the best thing that's happened to Twitter in the last 10 years. He's gone. Twitter, pretty heavily censors people on the platform, shuts down profiles of people who don't hold views similar to theirs. So they're kind of actively dwindling down their user base even further. And I guess they're hoping that e-commerce might be their last saving grace. I know Jack Dorsey recently has been saying that he's going to try to find a way to integrate Bitcoin into Twitter, and that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are going to have a big place on Twitter. So how this pilot program is actually going to run, here's what it is. So right now, this isn't something that you or I can actually do or utilize. This is a beta test that's only available to 10 big brands. It's like GameStop, Arden Cove, a bunch of beauty and lifestyle brands. But this is actively happening right now, and if it winds up being a success, it will likely wind up rolling out to more accounts. So in order to do this, right now you have to have a professional account. Also, right now it's only open up to these 10 brands, and people will be able to shop and check out directly through Twitter. Let's get into this article to kind of check out more of the specifics. Again, this one comes to us from TechCrunch. Twitter launches US e-commerce pilot that lets users shop from profiles. Twitter this morning will launch a pilot in the US aimed at testing the potential for e-commerce on its platform. The company was introducing a new shop module that offers brands, businesses, and other retailers the ability to showcase their products to Twitter users directly on the business profile. Users will then be able to scroll through a carousel of product images in the module and tap through a product they're interested in purchasing. This opens up the business's website inside the Twitter app itself, where customers can learn more about the product in question and opt to make a purchase. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. I thought the checkout was actually going to take place on Twitter, but it sounds like Twitter might just act as a web browser and open up that company's website within it. It almost reminds me of, I don't know how many of you guys use Trust Wallet, but Trust Wallet has that DApp browser where even though you're technically still in Trust Wallet, you can open up PancakeSwap or Cub Finance or whatever else. It sounds like that's kind of what this is going to look like. The shop module will appear in a new dedicated space at the top of the supported Twitter profile, which can be seen by US users on iOS devices. So that's another thing. Right now, this will only, as far as shoppers who will see this, you will need to be on an iOS device for this to work. It won't work for Android. The company told TechCrunch that only businesses with a professional profile will be able to use this feature at this time. Professional profiles, which began testing in April, give businesses, nonprofits, publishers, and creators the ability to display specific information about their business directly on their profile, including things like their addresses, phone numbers, operating hours, and more. Essentially, it's the Twitter equivalent of something like a Facebook page for a business. At launch, the new shop module will be available to only a small group of pilot testers. In addition to gaming retailer GameStop, the travel brand Arden Cove, Twitter says there will only be approximately 10 other brands across the lifestyle, traditional retail, gaming, media, and entertainment, tech, and telco industries who will gain access to this new feature. At present, Twitter isn't offering a way for interested businesses to sign up for the pilot because the company is only in the initial phase of testing it. So, I think we're looking at it right now. We're looking at the checkout. We'll wait for this to kind of start over. So here's what somebody's Twitter profile page will look at. You see the module below where they can scroll and look at products. Looks like it'll open up kind of so it looks like it's going to kind of open up Shopify within a web browser on Twitter. So technically, I guess you are leaving Twitter, but everything is happening within the Twitter app. While Twitter users often discuss products on the app and even reach out to companies directly for help with purchases, it's unclear whether users will come to view Twitter as a shopping platform. And, honestly, that was my biggest thought when I heard about this. Generally speaking, I think people go to social media sites to kind of entertain themselves and communicate with people. I don't think they're necessarily there to shop. Obviously, Facebook ads have been very effective for businesses. I think YouTube's a great place for e-commerce because people are actively going to YouTube to watch product reviews and learn about products and learn how to use products. But when it comes to Twitter, I don't know, I think part of the reason Twitter is having so much trouble is because Twitter isn't an ecosystem, right? If you look at a social media site like Facebook, there's Facebook groups, there's Facebook pages, there's Facebook Marketplace, there's Facebook messaging, you can make calls on Facebook. There's so many things you can do on Facebook. They can really keep somebody in their ecosystem for a long time. YouTube, people spend a lot of time on YouTube. YouTube and Instagram are starting to roll out Reels. People use it for messaging. On Twitter, I've never been a huge fan of Twitter. I've never really, quote unquote, got Twitter. But Twitter seems to be a place that people go for either breaking news, to find out about a car accident up the road because, again, they have, breaking news, or to argue about politics. I really don't see people going to Twitter to find out about products, to shop, anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see if this winds up taking off or not. I could see if maybe you sold like political t-shirts or something like that, and people are on Twitter arguing about Trump and Biden and everything else. You might be able to get somebody to buy a raunchy t-shirt. But beyond that, I just don't see Twitter as being a great platform for e-commerce. With the pilot, Twitter aims to better understand what could help it make that shift by tracking which types of products drive traffic to online retailers. For example, it wants to determine whether people are inspired by online conversations in the heat of the moment, like sports fans buying team apparel, so that's an example kind of similar to what we just said, or whether Twitter users could be encouraged to make purchases of a more lasting impact, like products for a new skincare routine. Having a diverse lineup of early pilot adopters will help the company to compare data across verticals to learn what works best. Twitter says it will also work directly with businesses to better understand their needs through the creation of a new merchant advisory board, which will consist of best-in-class examples of merchants on Twitter. The company earlier this year mentioned its plans to expand into e-commerce at Twitter's Analyst Day presentation in February, where it first announced its Super Follow platform for creators. The company also briefly spoke about its e-commerce investments. And I forgot about that one, but if you guys remember, back when all of that kind of rolled out, Twitter was basically going to allow you to do kind of like how people join and pay $5 a month to a YouTube channel. Twitter's trying to do kind of something similar there. I also forgot to mention that Twitter did make a stab at getting into the e-commerce space back in 2017, but it was very short-lived and they ultimately wound up dropping the project. And think about how much further, I don't know if e-commerce will work on Twitter, but think about how much further ahead they would be had they, continued tweaking it back in 2017 as opposed to dropping it and trying to pick it up 4 years later. Back into the article, we're starting to explore ways to better support commerce on Twitter. Twitter revenue lead Bruce Falk said during the event. We know people come to Twitter to interact with brands and discuss their favorite products. In fact, you may have even noticed some businesses already developing creative ways to enable sales on our platform. This demand gives us confidence in the power of combining real-time conversation with an engaged and intentional audience. Imagine easily discovering and quickly purchasing a new skincare product or a trendy sneaker from a brand you follow with only a few clicks, Falk said. Since then, Twitter has tested a new e-commerce feature for tweets, which allows businesses to link out to online product pages like those on Shopify, for instance. Let's see, it's testing new ways to display. Okay. Twitter CFO Ned Segal also touted the potential to shop on Twitter when speaking to investors at the JP Morgan Technology, Media, and Communications Conference in May, noting that people do a lot of research on Twitter before they buy something. I don't really, I've never gone to Twitter to research a product. YouTube, absolutely. Almost everything I buy, I look up on YouTube, but Twitter, not so much. Twitter's entry into online shopping comes at a time when major tech companies and social platforms are ramping up their investments in e-commerce. Facebook has made significant moves into e-commerce with shopping features across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, including initiatives like online storefronts, integrated checkout, product drops, video shopping, and more. Shopify has also partnered with a number of tech platforms, including Facebook, TikTok, and Google, to make it easier for consumers to connect with products sold by its merchants. And that's what I was referring to earlier, with Shopify having all these integrations that allow you to manage everything from one platform, as opposed to, being a retailer running on Wix or Squarespace or WooCommerce, where, you can sell on these other platforms, but you're going to have to actively manage eBay or, Amazon, Walmart, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as opposed to having it all, transmitted right into your Shopify store. It's worth noting that Twitter previously attempted to run an e-commerce operation and failed. In 2017, the company began to wind down its buy button product, which had allowed Twitter users to click to make purchases, and the retail partnerships associated with that effort due to a lack of traction. Clearly, the company believes this time around is the right time to try again. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this. As e-commerce sellers, is this something that you would try out? As shoppers, do you guys spend time on Twitter? Have you ever bought something because of a discussion on Twitter? Would love to hear your thoughts and comments as always, so be sure to drop a comment down below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below and ring the bell. And if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you on the next video.